Folder views. In this section we are going to look at the different views when you open a folder. I'm going to click on My Documents. Notice it is in Task View because that was the last view I was in when I was viewing my documents. Let me point out that the contents of your folders, or documents folder for that matter, will be quite different than mine, as it should be, because you do not have my files. That's okay, because whatever you learn here you can apply to any folder within Windows XP regardless of its content. So let's just look at some of the folder interface options we have in Windows XP. We have the title at the top left of the window, and on the right side we have three buttons which are used to minimize, maximize, and close the window respectively. We have a menu bar here which contains a lot of features which we're going to look at later. Below that we have our button bar, which allows us to do a lot of stuff just with a click of a button. Going up one level, back and forth, change the view of our folder, and this one here is one we must talk about in this section. Then of course we have our address bar, which tells us where we are in our computer in case we get lost. It works something like a web browser. These options to the left we talked about earlier. On the right hand side we have our actual content of the folder, and this is what we are going to focus on in this section. That is, how this information on the right hand side is displayed and how this display can be changed. By clicking on the button which I spoke of earlier, we can change the view of how our icons appear in the folder. By clicking on the thumbnail view, we can change the contents of the folder into the thumbnail view like big blocks. We also have tiles view, icons view, list view, and my favorite, detail view. In this view, we have separate headings, of which some are out of our view. To fix this, I will just grab and drag my window a bit. It gives you the size and type of the object. It also gives us the last date the file was modified. There are a couple of other views which you have access to, but we're going to look at those later. You can do this for each column, according to date, etc. There are a couple of other views which you have access to, but we're going to look at those later. In detail view, we can change the order in which the columns appear. But first, let's look at this little gray arrow on top of each column. The columns are currently in ascending order, meaning from A to Z. The folder comes first and then the files. If you click the arrow, the order of the column reverses and it becomes in descending order, like that. You can do this for each column, according to their specifications. If I want to see the date when the file was modified, without increasing the size of the screen, I could simply press down on the mouse button on the column heading and drag it to the left. You can right click on the columns to add columns in your list. If you want to know which date the file was created, you right click on the column heading and choose the date created option. Moving on, let's look at some of the other views available to us. Let's look at the title view and then go into My Pictures and Sample Pictures. Here we go. Before you say which view this is, let me show you. It is Film Strip view, which is especially for those folders which contain pictures. To allow us to view them like a slideshow, you can click on the Rotate and Next buttons to view the pictures in detail. Next time, we are going to talk about some of the options available when we are working with folder views.